So there are storage teams. So because the storage is also a quite important thing, your data and all needs to be stored. There used to be a storage team, so who used to work for storage, and there's a backup team who takes the backups of the things. Like backups are very important in certain industry, especially. Okay, your transactional logs. So for an example, like let's say you go to a bank and ask for, hey, give me the last five. Okay, so give me the last 5 years data. So then I'll ask you, okay, so come next month or come next week or come next day. They'll not give you, just give the printout and give you, okay, because that much data they don't keep it on the live systems, they keep it on the backup systems. So they have to retrieve the backup and they have to give it to you. So they'll ask you some time. I'm not sure if you have observed any of the banking systems, even on the net banking, by the way. So they will, you request the last 5 years or more than that. So then you will see that the delay in the giving the statement. Maybe if you ask for the last 1 month statement, you get it download immediately. But you go for a last 5 years of the data, so they might not give you, and certain portals they don't allow you. You have to visit a bank, talk to the manager, ask the manager that what is the reason, and they have to put a request to the backend, and that's how you get it. Okay, so backup is there. So backups will be there. I mean, very compliance. Okay, will be there. So long-term data you need to maintain as well. So backup teams will be there. Network team, all these devices need to connect. Okay, security and all network comes into picture. It's a web application. The network is a very important factor, by the way. Okay, and all these particular things needs to work in a data center. There used to be a data center operations team, so who maintain the data center. Okay, and there's a database team also, so who maintains the database. Every application requires a database. Okay, without a database you will not have it. And there's also a security team, AppSec team or InfoSec team, so whatever we call it as, different names. It's a security team, so which is going to be there, so to deal with the security related aspects on the things. And apart from that, NOC or GOC, like operations teams will be there, and who is going to monitor the things if something goes wrong or something like that. These guys will report the issues to the next level teams. That is what is it, the different teams that we used to have it in the waterfall model, and the things are going very well, by the way. So waterfall model, so the success ratio was significant, by the way, if you compare with other models at that times, like let's say from 20 years 25 years back from story. So waterfall model was a very successful model at times, and all these teams work together to maintain the things. But now slowly, okay, the industry was not actually focusing on waterfall. Okay, so the industry started looking on agile model. When they are starting looking on the agile model, in the agile model, is we call it as scrum fall, whatever it is. Now where this DevOps also actually comes from. So the next thing is we're actually using in a scrum fall or agile model. In the agile model, also we are actually trying to release the same product. But here in waterfall model, we used to release the products in, so the project life cycle is greater than a year or 2 years or something like that. Okay, so 1 year is a very bare minimum. So 2 years, 3 years projects will be used to be there. Okay, so after 1 year, 2 years, you used to get a final product. So until then, the development will continuously happen. So that is how it used to be. Okay, waterfall model especially. But today, agile is telling that, so you have to be as fast as into the market with a minimum MVP. Okay, so minimum viable product with a minimum MVP, you should be getting in the market. You should grab the customers. So the first one to be in the market is going to be the success, by the way. So you take, it's not going to work for every guy. At least the first guy to be in the market, grab more customers. That is the simple significant to start with, at least. But that may not be the true for all the business cases. For example, you take like, maybe, so when we used to use mails, by the way, so there used to be Rediff email, MSN email, Yahoo email. There was no Gmail, but Gmail came into the picture later and took over the every vendor out there, right? So I mean, that statement may not be true for all the business cases again, but at least for the product development, okay, at least the agile tells is for the business, by the way. So be in the first place in the market to gain or grab more customers, and you have to sustain them. Sustainability is the second aspect that the companies has to work on. Okay, so but however, so you have to be the first person to be in the market. So that's where the agile tells a frequent releases. So once in a 2 weeks, generally, like 2 weeks is a very general average that agile suggests, so that everyone try to mostly be with on the now 2 weeks you have to release everything. So now then the 2 weeks actually we're trying to release everything. So then that's where actually the problem coming into picture, because here So there is no problem with the development, there's no problem with the QA teams, but the major problem coming up with the operations team. So there are a hell lot of teams out there here. They're not gonna work collaboratively. Okay, no doubt in that. So everyone is having an individual, everyone is an individual team, and every team is an individual team, and they don't have a common agenda, right? Or they don't work towards common agenda. Of course, they'll have a common agenda to make the app and running, but however, they look in their self-interest. So that was the major problem with the agile actually people were facing. And that is where, okay, so it started slowly replacing, started slowly replacing with a certain sort of a common role, okay, which takes care of all the responsibilities what earlier people were doing as a single person, and he is actually being called as a DevOps engineer. So that's where this DevOps engineer is being evolving from. Okay, so this role actually started from this place to solve certain problems. What are the problems we have? So let me just list it out. So we talked about what are the different teams. Middleware team. So we talked about middleware team, and then post that we have OS team, okay, to have the OS. And so in order to so have this particular OS, I mean, we used to have again virtualization team or OS team together used to work. But yeah, that again roles and responsibilities. Virtualization team for so for VMs and all. A data center team for maintaining the data centers and servers and all physical servers. And after that, so there used to be a network team to connect those devices. Okay, a DB team to maintain the database things. And after that, so we used to have a storage team to have the storage team to maintain the storages, backup team to back up the storages, and infosec or appsec, whatever it is, infosec or appsec, whatever it is, security team used to be there. Okay, so this is what the different teams, isn't it? So is there anything I'm missing? I'm not sure. Yes, everyone is covered almost. So this is the one. Now, isn't it hypothetical that so these many persons were working, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 maybe plus one also. Keep like 10 roles, 10 persons are doing. Is it possible that one person can do? So that's a hypothetical, right? Yes, that is definitely a hypothetical, but but that is the reality as well, right? So the DevOps is reality today. So how these guys are actually managing it? So now okay, you need to understand the trend in the market as well. So the trend earlier was something, now the trend is something is different. Okay, now back in days, what we used to do, we used to have our own data center and things like that. But now there is another thing coming into picture, which is called as cloud. When you come with the cloud, so then the application in respect of cloud or data center, that is fine. But you come to the OS, when it comes to the OS, to really maintain the complete OS like earlier how we used to do, the cloud guy will take care. Virtualization, to have any role here, so this completely cloud is going to take care. Data center team, so if you go to the cloud, where is the data center? 0 data centers. Okay, and the network team, so the network team is necessarily not needed because the cloud offers the services, like it's a self-service as well. Cloud is a self-service. The major advantage of a cloud, if we look in, so that's a self-service. Okay, and their target is anyone individual can do themselves, right? So that's where the network is also configurable by anyone, by the way. It typically no need to have a network person to deal with the network. Okay, anyone who have an idea is fine. Okay, so that's where. And database team, so the DB is also, it was earlier used to manage the softwares, but cloud, they offer the services again. Cloud, they offer services. And you look into the storage team, so the storage is also coming from the cloud. Backups are gonna happen from the cloud. Okay, and maybe infosec is also to an extent you get it on the cloud, but maybe you need to deal with again additional tools. But yeah, I don't want to keep it as a cloud part because 100% solutions you don't have that. So now, so the middleware team is left over, but you see the majority of these guys actually, so even losing the potential in the market. Okay, so these guys roles are no more in the market essentially. If you look in, okay, there might be in certain cases, like so certain big companies, they have certain roles and responsibilities, or their own data centers, so still maybe some people will still have. But majorly, if you look in the application perspective, Okay, we are actually looking only on the web application. Okay, so if we typically look into the web application perspective, so these teams are necessarily not needed. So that's where, so the cloud is a major factor for your role. Okay, so changes so many things, and the middleware things also, middleware things and app infosec also, those are also now the little tools are coming into picture. Okay, and that's where your DevOps role is going to be cloud plus some tools, isn't it? Earlier, there used to be a lot of manual effort these teams used to do. Now, that's being done by a cloud majority part plus some tools. Some of the tools what you see, by the way, in the syllabus, something like that. Okay, so that is where, coming back to the point. So this role, okay, or this particular area, okay, a person is going to take over, and what is his major roles and responsibilities? What is his major roles and responsibilities? His major roles and responsibilities is ensuring the codes ships from lower environment to higher environment. So, I mean, lower environment is nothing but we call it as a developer. So taking the code from the developer and make it available to the customer environment. So wherever the customers are accessing it, so they should make it available. So that is where the major roles and responsibilities. Earlier also it was same, but so many teams are working. Now single person should do. So with the help of tools, automation, cloud, all these particular things he has to do. And second roles and responsibilities of this guy is also he has to work in such a way that his application should not have any sort of a downtimes. So either he deals with the architecture or deals with the operations, however it is, he need to ensure that the application has a very minimal downtime. So almost close to 100%, 99.999% of availability should be there. So that is where is these roles and responsibilities of a DevOps engineer comes from. But however, if you go to the bigger organizations, so we're talking about a we're talking about a business. If you're talking about a product-based companies who makes exclusively web-based applications, they go in this manner. But there are even the product companies, okay, and there are more of business companies. Business companies, when I say a bank or an insurance or or a travel companies, or so whoever makes applications around the travel, their business is different. They are also digitalized. They also have IT. They also have DevOps engineers, okay, like that. But majorly these roles comes from the product-based company. These two roles mostly on the product company when you are working for. So this is the major. These two will be the roles and responsibilities. But going for at a scale, the companies at scale. Okay, you go with the very big applications. So some of the screenshots, which again I took it from the internet. So I typed like how many Netflix services, how many microservices that Netflix web page have. If you are happily seeing netflix.com as a single web page, but it's not a single web page. There are thousands of pieces running behind the scene, and that's where they're telling 1,000 microservices at least minimum running. So to power up the Netflix web page. So if you are using Amazon.com, right? Amazon have, so there are 700 microservices that Amazon.com e-commerce web page is powered up with. Okay, so and if you look into the big clusters, some screenshots on the business side. So the business is basically is so I just took like Mercedes-Benz as an example, Benz company. So Benz company collect a lot of data from their collect a lot of data. They have a lot of applications as well for their product development. Mercedes-Benz also have some products, right? So and they collect a lot of data as well from the from the today cars, by the way, right? So data is also being collected from the cars. So all these kind of the whole applications, by the way. So how many clusters that the Microsoft Bench have? So I just kept it like so they're having like 900 on-premise Kubernetes clusters they're having. Okay, so which is a huge number. They're not into the cloud, baby. So they're telling that so we are having 900 plus 900 plus clusters. Okay, in our environment they are running. So maybe so many applications are running out there. So that is what okay, we need to understand. So hell lot of products are there. Okay, thousands of products will be there if you go to the bigger organizations. Okay, so that is where and again, so the from Fowler from Uber, by the way. So Uber is, again, everyone know, right? So Uber had almost like 1,300 microservices they are telling. So the Fowler is almost like kind of a development lead in Uber. So it is a statement from her. So she's telling like so we have almost like 1,300 microservices in their application, or if Uber is working, these many are there. And she's also telling that certain things are active and certain are not there. That's fine, but still, just think about a number, just visualize the number. So these many products are there. Now these many products are there, so these roles and responsibilities ideally cannot be managed by a single person eventually, right? A single person, because so there are 1,000 microservices happening on the Netflix side. Single team will not do that. There are hundreds of teams will be there to doing that particular product. By the way, if hundreds of teams are doing, so there are hundreds of DevOps engineers comes into picture. Every team will almost have a DevOps engineer. He works on the product side, so you'll have a DevOps engineer. Now when it comes to the Netflix.com, is a single platform. Who manages that platform? If I give a we cannot give the permission to manage by everyone, right? So let's say there are 100 teams who is maintaining Netflix.com. I cannot give access to the 100 teams to manage the Netflix.com. It's going to be a problem. So if one guy doesn't know the impact, by the way, because maybe it doesn't have a scope of other teams, it's going to be a problem. So that is where some common practices or certain common roles emerges here, and it started from Google, by the way. So this is the idea came from Google. Idea came from the Google means Google was doing this, and they gave up the so okay, so if you are actually thinking about in a platform way, especially in the agile model, in the microservices world and all, okay, you can follow my approach of teams, by the way. And they came up with something called as SRE. Okay, they were telling something called as SRE, okay, site reliability engineer. Some people, they may recruit you as a site reliability engineer. They might recruit you as a DevOps engineer and ask you to do a SRE work as well. Okay, but end of the day, both guys are same, but in a context of where you're working matters, by the way. So if you're a DevOps guy, you more work with the product team. Okay, for a SRE team, so you work more on a platform. So now you take Amazon.com. So just visualize that is a whole base that you're having. So you just visualize that, it's a whole base you're having. So maintaining Amazon.com, inside that so many pieces are running. So there is a one team which is going to manage that particular .com domain. That team is called as SRE, site reliability engineers. He works more on the so the platform related aspects. So we call it as a platform. Anyhow, in training we'll talk about a little bit detail about this as well later. But yeah, so this is what is we have. So DevOps versus SRE. And so your roles is going to be, if you are going to work for a company who is working at a scale big, okay, so then your roles might be cut down into small pieces, and that's where you might see DevOps side and you might see SRE side or operation side, we call it as. But yeah, I don't call it especially operation side, but however, that's also a reality. That's fine. But mostly work on the development side, development product side. So he's a DevOps guy, and who works mostly on the operation side, so like maintaining the things. Okay, so he's an SRE guy. But both guys, end of the day, work on the same technology. Technical wise, he works on the same things. So, and both will have a contract as well. Both are more or less so talking a very common language that. So both are DevOps guys, something like that. Okay, so this is where DevOps is coming up from. So I think so we have covered 2 points, by the way, so far. So what we have covered is what is before DevOps, what was the problems, and how the DevOps has been evolved from there. We have talked about, right? And coming to the last thing that for today's demonstration is what are the things that we learn. So this is a big question even to me, by the way, like what are the things I should teach, by the way. So first thing is, what are the things you should learn is a problem for you, okay? Because there are a lot of there's a lot of places that you can go and search for DevOps training. You will see different kind of a syllabus or tools coming into picture. Now there's a very big question mark. Even for me also is a big question mark, like what to teach, by the way. So forget about what we learn. For it coming to me, the problem is what do I teach? And so this was a struggle for me as well for some time, because we had to keep a lot of efforts in understanding the market, how the market is going on, analyze the trends. Okay, based on that, we had to fine tune our content. Okay, so change the topics accordingly. So this is what is one problem that we used to have it. Okay, and of course that was our job, and we used to do that. So, but however, there is certain enthusiastics, a certain community. So we are running on a community world, right? So today is a community. Okay, everything running from a community. So now you take any product, it is being developed by a community. Like there's an open source community, we call it as whatever it is, a product community or whatever it is. So it's a community who is doing the things, right? So and community is a group of people who, okay, so who do the things. So that's where now luckily we have a community now, so it makes both of my job and as well as your job also easy, by the way. So as a community, certain people are coming and telling that, hey, if you want to become a DevOps engineer, you do those things. Okay. So they're giving a roadmaps. And who is giving the roadmaps? If anyone knows this GitHub, by the way, so github.com is a web page. Okay. github.com is a web page from Microsoft. Okay. Not from Microsoft. It is acquired by Microsoft. That's okay. But it is with Microsoft now. So it's a Microsoft product. I'm not telling anywhere, but that's okay. So it's from Microsoft. It's a big place that where everyone try to every almost open source project is available here only. Okay, mostly GitHub is a very big. Okay, so fun. So in GitHub, by the way, so we have famous repositories. GitHub. So there is an option to like any repository. You go back to any repo, you can like one repo. So if you, let's say I have one repo, you liked me, so just click on like me, by the way. Okay, like this particular project. So that's where the number of likes makes like the project famous. Okay, so that's where so GitHub most starred projects, if you take a look. So there is a project which sits in sixth place, I think, right now. At least a month back or 2 months back, it was seventh place. So now there is a sixth place it is actually making, which is awesome. No, not awesome. Sixth one, right? Developer roadmap. So developer roadmap. So it started with developer roadmaps. Okay, so we can open this, and this is the one. So this roadmap.sh. What is their website, by the way? It's a roadmap.sh. You go to their website, okay, and you will see the roadmaps for different persons. And out of that, DevOps is one of that, and which is making my life easy as well. Okay, I don't need to really keep my efforts in order to understand the market, because these guys are already analyzing the market and updating the things accordingly. So we're just simply relying on the data which is provided by this guy. So we're taking the data from this guy. So you know the company called as Gartner. So I think at least, so you will see the Gartner business, by the way. So does anyone know, like everywhere you see that there's a Gartner reports we call it as. Okay, so what this guy's business, what this guy does, by the way, so they sell data. What this guy does is collect the data, sell the data. Now let's say if I want to build an application, by the way, so then what are the things that I would, so now let's say I wanted to go to cross compare the features, by the way, isn't it? Now let's say I want to choose a cloud. So there are wide variety of clouds are there. Amazon is there, Azure is there, Google is there, Oracle is there, IBM is there. Now whom to choose? It's a big question mark for me as well as a business. Okay, so that's where what we do is we'll go to the Gartner and we'll ask the Gartner expertise that, hey, this is my business, okay, and this is my requirement, by the way. So tell me the case studies. What these guys Gartner does is case studies. They do the case studies of each and every company. So analysis, so they kind of do the analysis, they kind of do the case studies. They'll have a lot of data around that. So they will tell you, okay, so since it is your business, these are the things that you should consider.